All right, last video we set up our enemy game object a little bit more to get it ready for some of the AI we're going to be delving into. This video we're going to set up our level. So what we're going to do, we're still in our prototype level of our enemy setup. What we want to do is we're going to make a brand new scene now. So I'm going to go to File, New Scene, and I'm going to go ahead and save this scene. So I'm going to go to Save As, and I'm going to navigate to Scenes, and I'm going to call this, well actually, I don't think you have to do that. I think we're just in a new scene. We don't have to save it because I have a beat 'em up level package for you to download and import into Unity. And pay special attention to the way your assets folders are set up. Hopefully, you've been copying kind of the way I set up my folders here, because when I import my level, they're going to go straight into this kind of folder setup. So if you don't have this set up right now, I suggest go ahead and setting up folders like I have them. It'll just make the importation process a lot more simple. Otherwise, you're going to have new folders here. So what am I talking about? Well, why not go ahead and just import my level and we can see. So I'm going to take this Unity package. I'm going to drop it right onto assets. It's going to open up this importing package page. We want all. And basically this is going to bring in the level I have prepared for you guys that we're going to use for our final game of this chapter here. All right, great. So we have new folders here. We have a mesh folder. Now it's populated with level meshes. We got some new materials here, ground mat and ground mat 1. And we actually have a scene loaded up here. So if we double click beat 'em up level, we have just a simple little scene here that I created. Just a regular city street, nothing too fancy. But it'll teach us about how to set up a Navmesh system and give our character somewhere to brawl at. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to our window lighting, and we're going to turn off our auto bake. We don't really want to worry about baking lights in this game. Our real-time lights are doing just fine. They're casting fine shadows. So we're going to go to window, lighting, and uncheck auto. That's great. What we need to do now is we need to bring in our characters. We need to bring in our characters so we can start setting up our nav mesh and start working with prototyping our AI and everything. So if we go to prefabs and we just select our gambit and our sentinel, all the work we spent setting up our character controllers, they're saved in these prefabs, so I can just move gambit out of the way. And here's my sentinel. I'm going to leave him where he is. But I'm missing one thing. I'm missing a camera, so why don't we create a camera real quick so we can see it inside the level. And we're going to just move it back like so, maybe angle it down -5 degrees or so. Actually, that was translate. We're going to rotate it in the X direction, maybe 5 degrees. And if we hit play, since this is a new scene, our game engine's packing our stuff. There we go. One thing I did notice is that the lighting got really messed up as soon as we pressed play. So to fix that, I'm just going to go ahead and delete this directional light here. And let's make a new one. So I'm going to go to light, directional light. And basically this will function as our sun here. Like so. Turn on shadows to soft shadows. Turn on the bias on both of them. Maybe turn down the strength. And if we hit play, there we go. Something like this is maybe what we'll strive to have. All right, so you can see I have my characters. My gambit's still controlling really well. And they're inside of our scene. So after we got our new light in, it's still a little bit dark. So let's see what we can do to fix that. If I go back in and turn on auto, then we can see that my global illumination starts to work again and the level's lit a little bit more. So I think I like that. So I'm going to go back in and maybe change Maybe not navigation. We're going to go to lighting. Maybe we enable that to auto. Everything will be just fine. I was worried before about the light baking process taking up too much time, but we're good here. So what we need to do now is we need to get our Navmesh system set up. So to do that, the first step we're going to do is set our level to static, meaning that all these objects in my level meshes group that we've imported are not going to move within the scene. They're going to stay where they are. So if we set that to static and we want to change yes to all children, now everything in my stage will be set. We'll be able to bake with lights and everything like that, all that good stuff. All right. You can see how some of the lights have already been baked into the level here. I'm getting a little bit of weird artifacting with this level layout, with some panels being darker than others. If you find that too distracting, which it is to me, I'll just go to Window, Lighting. We'll turn off Auto again, and we'll clear the baked data. And just play around with the lights a little bit. Maybe turn on Auto again. And it's just going to bake out the lights, and it'll probably have those artifacts again. But we'll just ignore them for now. Since our level is now set to static and our light mapping is set to auto again, everything in this level is going to have their light baked onto it. But this back wall is getting some of these weird splotches here, but we'll ignore it for right now. If you find a way to fix it, that's fine. But the level art's not on display here. We're trying to make a beat 'em up. So all the lights good. Another purpose this setting our meshes to static serves is that it allows us to bake a navigation system for our character here. And if you'll notice, if you expand the static little arrow right here, we can see several different things right here. Checked, navigation being the one right now. So navigation static is on. So our level now is able to bake for our nav mesh. And a nav mesh is just a roadmap that our AI is going to be able to use to navigate around obstacles in our level. So let's get started on making that. So I'm going to select my Sentinel parent object right here, and I'm going to go to Add Component. We're going to go to Navigation, and we're going to add a Navmesh agent. And you'll see something new appear on my Sentinel here, this new little column, if you will. I'm going to go ahead and collapse some of these components so we can just see our Navmesh column here. And we're going to set a few things here. We're going to decrease the radius by a little bit, decrease the height by a little bit in our settings, and stopping distance we'll set to like 0.2 or so. All right, so our Navmesh agent is now applied to our Sentinel. Now we just need to go to Window, Navigation, and in our inspector we'll open up this new little dialog window here. If we go to Bake, then we have a few options here. Why don't we decrease the radius by a little bit, maybe like 0.3. And our agent height, let's decrease it by 1. And why don't we just go ahead and bake, and we'll see what we get out of this. And already you can see this blue, almost like a sea of blue we have here. Everything blue that you see, light blue, is spaces that our AI will be able to walk in. And if we decrease the radius by even more and bake again, we can see now that the distance between objects is smaller. But I'm going to set it back up to 0.3. I don't want it too small. We'll hit bake again. And why don't we just go ahead and press play so we can make sure our AI stays where it is, or our enemy character stays where it is, rather. And looks like we're good there. As you can see, I can, with my rigid body set up, I can kind of push enemies out of the way. I don't get stuck on them. But that won't be too much of an issue when we're beating each other up, like so. All right. So with our nav mesh set up, we can now go further into the AI lesson. Our enemy character here will know where he can walk and where he can't walk, and he'll be able to pick the quickest path to Gambit here. All right. So in the next few lessons, we're actually going to start getting into the code here to start giving our enemy Sentinel a brain.